Well. Good evening, everybody. We are back after a little break. Welcome back to episode number, I think we're on episode number 23. Wow. Can't believe we've already been on here for almost a year. But hey, good evening, everybody. Glad to see everybody here tonight. We're doing Plane Talk Live, and we'll have Captain Paul back again here in just a few minutes. But hey, let's say hello to Sal. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Good. What do you? How you been doing lately, Sal?
Doing pretty good. Been busy up and down the state and everywhere else.
Everywhere else, yeah. And Michael is actually headed home from a little trip that he took. So, but he'll be back with us next time. And we also want to say hello to Lady Cat. She is moderating the chat tonight, and thank you so much. And yeah, let's say hello to a few people that are in the chat right now. We'll say hello to Sue Major. How are you doing, Sue? We'll say hello to Mr. Greg Hybers. And let's see, I think I saw MJ somewhere. There he is, MJ Scanlon. Hello, MJ, good to see you. And let's see, who else we got here? We got Bella Vicky. Hello, Bella Vicky. We're glad you are here tonight. And of course, Lady Cat is here as well. And yeah, so oh, Jim G. There we go. There's Jim G. And I'm sure we'll have some others coming in as the show proceeds. So anyways, excuse me. There's, since the last episode, Sal, there's probably been quite a bit of news out there, but I think we're just going to skip the news tonight because, yeah, who wants to listen to the news? We already have enough news out there. But tonight, we have some. We're going to go straight into our model airplane segment, which has been like a really cool segment that we've been doing with everybody. And tonight, our model airplane collection comes to us from Lady Cat. She sent me some of the photos of her collection. So let's take a look at what she has. All right, that looks like a Qantas. What is that, baby? An ATR 42? ATR 42? And that's pretty interesting plane. And let's see what else she has. Alaska A319 with the special livery. And Alaska always has lots of special liveries. Here is Fin. Oh, look at the hat. Here, Finnair A350. And thank you for the product placement there, Lady Cat. And or as Greg Hybers called Font Air because of the big font. Let's see what else she has. Oh, there's the other one, the Marimenko. Oh, look at the hat there too.
Hey, I like that hat too.
Some more product placement. The hat right on. And ooh, the FedEx MD-11.
Oh, yes, this one.
Yes.
It's her plane.
That is her plane right there. And I think we have one more from her Air New Zealand 787 Dreamliner, or as she would call it, a Dreamweaver. But hey, there's also a shrimp cocktail there. Oh, well, Lady Cat, thank you so much for sending in the your collection there. And Sal, do you have anything new in your collection since the last show a few weeks back?
Nope, everything's the same.
Just Bucky.
That's it.
Bucky. Hey, let's say hello to Alvanor. Alvanor's here. It's good to see you.
Hello.
Welcome. Oh, the one and only Kevin R. And let's give Kevin R a big welcome. Some of you might know Kevin R. loves to honk the horn on his car whenever he's driving around and likes to get people's attention. So, all right, we're glad you're all here tonight. And hey, last show a couple weeks ago, we showed Andy Payne sent me some pictures of a model airport. And I believe we had SFO from back in was it the 40s or 50s? Mm-hmm. And then I believe we also had, was it San Jose? Or was it just SFO?
Just SFO.
Oh, okay. So anyways, I have more photos from him of his model airport. But real quick, let's say hello to Karen. Hi, Karen. We're glad you're here tonight. All right. So I know we're moving a little quick here tonight, but I just want to keep the show rolling. So let's see what Andy sent us for tonight's show. Let me see. Where am I? Okay. So what he sent me was SFO in the 1960s. Now check this out. I mean, that is just spectacular. What do you think, Sal?
That's pretty cool. That's awesome. the way the planes are parked,
Hmm.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said the last time, Andy just really, just his attention to detail. I mean, is so like meticulous, and so I mean, just I I wouldn't have the patience trying to put something together like that, or even the creativity. But that is just awesome, and we have a few more. Let's see what else he sent. Here's like closer up of some of the gates, and I mean, it's really cool. Where I mean, just even finding die cast of a lot of these older planes is just really cool. Like you see a TWA 707 back there. What else do I see? I think I might see an American 727 right here. I see a TWA 727, and upper right corner, those might be Pan Am 707s. And yeah, those are really cool. I wonder what everybody in the chat thinks. Yeah, look at Jim G says, yeah, they are cool. Greg,
Yeah,
yeah, they probably are 1/400 scale is what I am thinking. Um,
the attention to detail, like it's really really good.
oh,
For the
big time.
terminals, they look really really cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, just his attention to detail is just wow.
Yes.
And then we had a couple more here. I like this shot. You see a couple of in the foreground. Looks, what airline is that? I can't tell. That's 727. Then there's a 707. This was just back in the day when lots of 707s were doing a lot of the long haul stuff, if I remember correctly. And we've got one more. And yeah, that's super cool. Oh, actually, see a couple 747s. They're probably the original 100 models, the Dash 100s. So yeah, what do you think, Sal? His stuff's
I'm
really
still
cool.
like there. It's nice. I mean, like again the details. I mean, I had to look get close to it to watch it.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah. So Andy, thank you so much for sending those to us. And I can't remember. I might have a couple more from him for the next show. Um, say hello to a couple more people I may have just come in. Hello, Adria. Good to see you this evening. And I want to see, just looking up here in the chat, everything looking pretty good. So, all right. All right, everybody. Well, we have a special guest back with us. And let us welcome Captain Paul back with us. Hello, Captain Paul. How you doing? Good to have you back with us.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good to be here.
Good. We had a really good time last time you were with us, and was talking with you a few weeks back and said, "Hey, would you like to come back again?" And you said, "Yeah, I have some more stuff I want to share." Last time you had before we get into it, last time you had shared a really funny story, and I think we may have a few that are here tonight that may not have been here with us last time, and I would love it if you could share the story about the famous music band that shall remain unnamed, about the experience you had flying them in the Lear.
Well, that was a two Learjets. We had to take one took the band and one took the singers, and quite an ordeal. We were to pick them up in San Francisco. The Learjet I was flying was an older one. It was an old 25. Those have the turbojet engines, and then the other one was a newer model, Learjet, and they had the fan engines. They could fly all the way. We were going down to Florida. The fan-powered Learjets could fly all the way there. The Lear 25 burned a lot of fuel, and we had to stop in Dallas to get fuel, and they had to stop with us because they wanted to keep both airplanes together for security reasons. Well, they all showed up in San Francisco on the ramp in the back near the cargo area, and out of these buses came the band and the singers and a whole bunch of gals that were just hanging on, and I don't.
Groupies.
Yeah, boy, they were something, and they were on something because they started roaming around on the ramps out there, and we're going, "Hey, get those girls off the ramp.
That could be dangerous.
There's airplanes all over here, get them off of here."
Yeah.
And I thought right from the beginning, this is not going to be fun. We got him on that airplane, and right off the bat, the lead singer sat down in his chair, and he took his big suitcase and put it in his lap. And I said, "Well, you can't do that. We have to put it in the overhead, or put it under your seat, or put it in the cargo." He said, "No, I need this because I have all my stuff in here." And I said, "Well, you can't do it. We can't go anywhere until that thing is set aside, because if we get in turbulence, that thing's going to fly around and hurt somebody." Well, we finally talked him into giving us, and he took a bunch of stuff out of it. We finally got going. We get airborne, and we're climbing out, and began to realize what he had in the suitcase was all his marijuana, and they started smoking cigarettes. And in the Learjets, you have the exit of the air that's pressurized in the vessel actually circulates the airplane, and then it actually goes up into the cockpit and is exhausted out these little outflow valves under the co-pilot's rudder pedals. So it all comes up into the cockpit. And of course, I smell it, and I'm going, "Well, this isn't going to work." So first, "Well, you guys, you can't be smoking that stuff back there." And he said, "Well, put on an oxygen mask." I said, "Well, if we put on an oxygen mask, you can't smoke at all, because then you'll cause a fire. So you can't smoke that stuff." Oh man, we were real mad. So we finally we get to Dallas and get refuel. We take off, and we start climbing out, and here comes the smoke again. So I had about enough. So I told the co-pilot, I said, "Put on your oxygen mask." I put mine on, and I said, "Now we're going to turn the oxygen in this airplane, the pressurization all the way up to about 12,000 feet. In normal conditions, we could fly at about 31 to 33,000 feet, and the cabin would be somewhere at around 7,000 or 8. So we just went ahead and turned it up to 12,000. They had a little cutout button that we always kept track of. You could push it, and it would keep the horn from going off, warning you of the fact that your pressurization has been lost and the cabin's going up. So kept that silent. It got her up to 12,000 feet. And in about 10 minutes, we look back, and they're sleeping. And so then we turned it back down to 10,000 feet, and then left it there, took our masks off, and flew the rest of the way to down to Florida.
Oh man!
And we landed, and they all woke up, said, where are we?" So he's got them off the airplane, and I was dealing with their overlord. They kept track of them and paying the bill. And the co-pilot comes running over to me, and he says, "Paul, they took all the ashtrays and the decanters off the airplane." And the airplane was owned by a gentleman that he leased. He used the airplane for rental. And in the airplane actually had these beautiful ashtrays that were circled in this gold leaf and leather inserts. So they were very expensive. And these decanters were beautiful crystal decanters. So we hold up their trucks and cars and all their vans, and nobody's going anywhere until we get all of our ashtrays back and all of our decanters. And it just amazes you that these people were worth so much money, and they would steal stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like they could afford to.
But we finally, and they wouldn't give it until finally the guy he was quite an older man. I would think at the time he was probably in his late 60s or early 70s.
Now, was he like their tour manager or something?
He was whole manager. He managed the whole group, and
Okay.
he started getting mad in the limo, and he says, "Give him the stuff. We got to get out of here." So down came the windows on the limo, and one by one they handed all this stuff out. We got it back on the airplane, and we went out. And when I got home, I said, "Don't call me to ever fly a band ever again. I don't want to go through that again. But it was a well-known band, and I tell you, every time I saw them or thought of them, I just shook my head.
It's like, I remember the first, real quick, Greg in our chat is asking about roughly what year this might have been.
What year?
Yeah.
This was, I'm pretty sure it was right around 70, just about 78 or so. 77, 78 years.
Yeah. And Kevin, yeah, this was on a private jet. That was a charter.
Yeah.
And
all charter stuff.
yeah, this was Captain Paul was doing some charter flights at the time, and I always get a kick out of this story, and I just thought I'd like have him share it again for those who may not have watched the last show. But tonight, I was talking with Captain Paul a few weeks back, and he was saying, there was some more experiences you had when you were still an active pilot, and that you wanted to share. But we do have a few questions, and we do have a couple from our chat moderator, Lady Cat, and she wanted to ask you, Captain Paul, did you ever fly international flights? And if you did, what were some of the destinations you flew to?
Well, I flew international. It was actually considered as part of a domestic flight regime when you were with American Airlines, but it included flying to Canada. We were up in Canada a lot, and we were down in Mexico. We did a lot of flying in Mexico and South America.
Okay.
Other than that, until the later years, I was going to fly the 777 to Narita, but we went through 9/11, and they dropped a bunch of flights from the Bay Area, and in order to fly it, I was going to have to commute to LA or Dallas, and I had done that in my younger years and didn't want to do that again. It meant you'd be away from home for quite a few days, and I didn't want to do that to my family. So most of my international flying was Mexico, the South America, and then Canada. Okay. And
yeah. And for those who may not be familiar, Captain Paul, you started your career with AirCal, and then when American Airlines acquired them, then you finished out your career with American.
Right.
Yeah, right. Okay. Hey, and if anybody has any questions for Captain Paul in the chat, just write them out in the chat, and I will ask him. All right. And Lady Cat had another question for you. Did you ever get assigned any planes that may have had like a special, livery or paint job? And when you did it kind of excite you? Like, whoa, I'm flying something that's kind of cool and different? Because as aviation enthusiasts like us and plane spotters, we like when we see the special livery planes, it's like something really exciting.
Yeah, we had an agreement, I guess, when I was with AirCal, Air California, and it became AirCal. Their summer months were their big months. That was the Disneyland and up and down the West Coast. And we needed extra airplanes. And so what they did is they went to Aloha Airlines in Hawaii, and Aloha's down period is the summer. So they had airplanes sitting on the ground. So they ferried about 3 or 4 of their airplanes over to the Bay Area, and they put them in a hangar up north and set them all up for us. They just put the decal AirCal on the side, but they left the Aloha print, which basically was the tails of those airplanes were painted in flowery designs. Wow. Real weird flowery designs.
Yeah.
And we'd show up for work, and one day we got to work, and the co-pilot said, what airplane are we taking out today? And I said, we're going to take out the shower curtain.
Shower curtain?
And he goes, the shower curtain? I said, yeah, look at the tail. What does that remind you of? He says, oh, yeah, it looks like a shower curtain. So everybody called that airplane the shower curtain. It actually, the one I flew a few times, is the very airplane that Aloha was flying when the top came off of.
Oh, wow.
But it happened to be many years later. I think it probably was a good 6 or 7 years later
Mhm.
that accident took place where the top came off.
Right.
Our mechanics in San Francisco at the time for Air Cal had said that they were suggesting we not use Aloha's airplanes anymore because they were finding some, rust in the not so much bolts, but in a lot of the pop rivets and things.
Okay.
So those airplanes were very exposed to that. It was a real problem for them over there. So we stopped flying them. I think it was only a year or two we did it. But
Okay.
I remembered flying that very airplane. And I
Wow.
was shocked when I heard it happen.
Wow.
So.
Yeah. Well, we have a couple questions for you, Captain Paul. This is Greg. He wants to know, what was the most challenging airport you ever landed at?
Well, with the airlines, the most challenging airport was Lake Tahoe. We used to fly into South Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
And weather being what it was, the very first thing you had to find out was exactly the winds, because you didn't care about the landing as much as the takeoff. If you couldn't take off out of there, you didn't want to land there, or else you were stuck.
Mhm.
And under certain wind conditions in Lake Tahoe, it get pretty dicey, and basically you couldn't fly out of there on a 737. And so we had to be very careful. We would fly an approach that brought us right down over the lake, and then you turned in toward the airport right at the end. And if you couldn't see the runway, then it was time to get out of there.
Oh, wow.
So you really had to get up and go pretty quickly. It wasn't a, we were all very attentive to what we were doing when we were going in
I
there.
bet.
It was really something.
Wow.
So,
Wow. We have a few more. This is Adria. She would like to know, what was the craziest emergency you ever had on a plane, if any?
well, the one emergency was we had an engine problem in the in the Super 80. We were coming from Seattle, coming down to San Jose, and just before our descent, we started to get some high indications on temperatures and oil temperatures and on the one engine. And the only way that we could even control it was keep bringing the power on that one engine further and further back. And then about the time that we were starting to get into the lowest regimes, we decided it was time to descend. So we asked for an early descent, started down.
Uh-huh.
During the descent, the temperatures continued to rise, and we just quietly shut the engine down. You declare an emergency, just be so you could get priority. But the the airplane flies quite well on one engine, especially if you're already in the air. The real dicey part is if you're at slow speeds taking off and you lose an engine. Of course, that's the most dangerous. But we did have to shut that engine down. At that particular time, we didn't say anything because you can't hear it in the airplane. You can't really feel it in the back of the airplane. And during the descent, at some point, you were actually getting both engines at idle anyway. So we had that one shut down and one a little above idle just to keep the descent smooth.
Uh-huh.
And they gave us priority. We came right into San Jose and got a turn in and landed on the one engine. So they never really knew that we had done that. At least on the airplane. We had prepared the flight attendants in the event if anything got worse, but it was very under control. It sounds like it was very dangerous, but those airplanes are more vulnerable on the takeoffs and climbs than they are on the descents. So,
wow. Okay.
So we got it on the ground okay, and then of course they grounded the airplane from there. So.
Wow. We have another one. This is from Kevin. What was the busiest airport you ever landed in or you ever flew into?
Well, Dallas, Fort Worth was really the very busiest place. There were days we've landed there on occasions, and there were as many as probably 15 to 20 airplanes waiting to get to the gate. And so they'd park you on ramps all over the airport. And we flew a 3.5-hour flight from San Jose to Dallas, parked, and had to wait for a gate for another 30 minutes.
Wow.
So that place got very, very backed up. And most of it was because of weather. Generally, there was severe weather somewhere, and they would delay flights getting out. That delayed flights parking and coming in. And it got to be really a long day. Quite often so long that your whole day was eaten up sitting in Dallas, and they'd cancel any more flying for you, and you'd go to the hotel. So,
wow. The question prior to that one was about the where you lost the engine, basically.
yeah.
Were there any other emergency situations you ever had to endure that required an emergency landing besides that?
Well, the worst one was when I was working for a freight outfit. This is before I got to the airlines, and even before I even flew corporate flying. I was flying for a small little airlines. You have to be pretty old, about my age, to remember it. It was
come on now, you're a young man.
Valley Airlines. And
Okay.
Valley Airlines flew Twin Beaches. Their routes were out of Oakland to San Jose to Fresno to Bakersfield.
Okay.
They also had a flight that went Oakland to San Jose, down to Monterey, down to Santa Barbara.
Oh, wow.
And back in those days, there was significant fog problems in the valley, the Central Valley, which they don't have now. I think that may possibly be because of all the buildings over there now. But back then, there was so much ground moisture from the farming over there that it didn't take anything for fog to come up, and real dense fog. Well, we took off out of San Jose, and I was on a check ride with the FAA man out of Oakland. He was on the airplane, sat in the front seat, and was watching us fly. And we that's how they would do what they called online tests of your abilities. So we took off from San Jose. We had all of the weather. We had all of the fuel we needed. We went down to Fresno, but when we got to Fresno, as we were descending, Fresno started to go down in visibility. And you had to have at least a half a mile visibility to land. And it dropped significantly. It was very early in the morning, and the sun was just coming up. And the minute the sun came up is when it would just go completely fogged in.
Wow.
We got down there, and they closed the airport. We couldn't land. So we said, what are we going to do? So we get the weather for Bakersfield, and it was still okay. So we said, we're going to divert to Bakersfield, and we'll come back to Fresno. Everybody that has to go there will stay on the airplane in Bakersfield and go back with us up to Fresno. So we turned, and we headed down to Bakersfield. We get to within, probably 10 minutes of Bakersfield, and Bakersfield goes down 0-0.
My goodness.
So now we are in we're in a fuel problem. There's a lot of places we can't go because Bakersfield was our alternate for Fresno.
Okay.
So now we're at the alternate, but it's down. I turned back, we checked the weather in Fresno, and it started to come up a little bit. So we said we're going to go back to Fresno. So we're heading back to Fresno, and on the way to Fresno, it went down to 0-0.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, wow.
So the co-pilot had asked, well, what do we want to do? And I said, we can't do anything, but we're going to land. And so the check airman says, well, you don't have visibility. I said, yes, we also don't have any fuel. And if we stay up here, I know we're coming down.
Either way, you
Either way,
either way.
I would rather come down under control,
Right.
and we're going to have to make this a perfect approach.
Uh-huh.
So if it was the first time in years later in the airlines, you could do landings at 50 feet above the runway, and auto lands. So this was my first attempt at that, and I said, I'm going to fly this thing down until we touch down on the runway, and whether we can see it or not, there's nothing else we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And he admitted later, he said, yeah, you're right, there was no place to go.
Uh-huh.
So by golly, we flew the approach all the way down there.
Wow.
And at just about 50 feet, it just popped out enough that we saw the end of the runway and touched down on this runway. And thank God, that it worked out that way. But and of course, I was young and worried that, oh gosh, I hope this guy doesn't take my license away and do anything. But there was nothing else we could do. He finally admitted. He says, actually, yeah. He says, I'm glad you did what you did, because there's no other place to go. And you're right. You're better off under control, doing the best you can to land, than being out of fuel and out of control. So.
Yeah. And what type plane was this?
This was a Twin Beach. It was a Volpar Twin Beach. They were Twin Beaches where they put nose gears on them. So it was a tri-gear, and it was quite an airplane. I liked flying. It was a fun airplane. It was kind of the old vintage days, and I always remembered flying those things. Was kind of fun. So.
MJ said that was a Category 3B approach, or Cat 3.
That would be a Category 3.
Yep. Yeah. And matter of fact, MJ works for FedEx. He does airplane maintenance. I believe he works in the cockpits. He's worked with
and he knows
FedEx for quite a while. Yeah. He knows his stuff. We have another question from Greg in the chat. What airplane did you find the most difficult to fly?
Oh boy, I guess I didn't fly it very much. I flew it to help out another friend of mine who was corporate flying, and he had a Mitsubishi, an MU-2. And those airplanes, if you didn't know, they didn't have ailerons. They had spoilers they would use to control the turns, and it was very odd the way it responded. You had to be very used to it. And if you didn't fly it very often, you had to get your mind right about, okay, there's certain things I can't do in crosswinds with this airplane, and it's real tricky with these spoilers, and the way it acted when you made movements. I generally was. I tried being very smooth and slow on the movements I made, so it was a little easier for me than some of the guys that are pretty rough on the controls. It would get out of control on landings pretty quickly. But that was the only one that I felt I had to concentrate on the flying. It wasn't an easy airplane to fly, just relaxed. I'm sure it would become that way if you flew it long enough, but I never flew it that much. So.
Wow. All right. Another question here. This is from Pickles. Would like to know, what is the biggest airplane you have flown?
Well, the biggest airplane that I ever flew was the 737s, 300s. Those were as big an airplane as I flew. The 777, I never ended up going to school because I canceled my. They took away that flying for so long, and I didn't want to commute, so I canceled that. But the 737-300 was probably the biggest I just ended up on.
Yep. Now, Kevin, maybe that may have answered your question. Captain Paul didn't get to fly the 777 after all because of the 9/11 situation, and a lot of those flights were canceled. But did you ever do any simulator time on the 777 sim?
I did some. I got to sit in on it with one of the Army. Yeah, we went in there. Was back there for training, and it was a kind of a down day for me. And I knew some of the simulator pilots, and the guy asked me if I wanted to They were checking it out. They had done some maintenance on it, and then they were going to fire it up. So he said, "Come on in here and take a look at it." And it was that was quite an interesting flight. It's a pretty airplane to fly. Pretty nice.
I have a question about aborted takeoffs. Did you ever have any aborted takeoffs during your career?
I did have an aborted takeoff, and it was quite an experience because we did hundreds of those in the simulators. That's all you did when you went back for simulator training every 6 months. And actually before that, even when I getting a multi-engine rating, you were taught that on takeoffs, they would fail an engine, but they would fail it completely and quickly. So you had to react very quickly with a lot of rudder to keep it straight on the runway. And then if you were below a certain speed, you had to, abort the thing altogether. If you were past this one speed, V1, then you were stuck, committed to go because you didn't have enough runway to stop on. So you were always under the impression, including in the airlines, believe it or not. And I had to bring this up when I went back into training. I says, that's not exactly what it feels like to lose an engine on takeoff. And what happened to us is we were taking off out of Ontario, and it was my leg, and
this is Ontario, California.
California. We were taking off in the 737. We added full power. We were going down the runway, and the first thing that happened was this little jolt to the right. And it was almost like if somebody touched the brake, the right brake on the rudder by mistake. And it just just this little jerk. And I thought, what the heck was that? That seems odd. Maybe the pilot had his foot on the brakes. He shouldn't have had, but sometimes that happens. So we kept going, and then it did it again.
Oh, wow.
And it was just before our V1 speed, and I said, something's not right. I pulled the power all the way to idle and said, we got to see what's going on here. The other pilot said, yeah, that's weird. What's going on? And I said, do you have your feet on the pedal? No, I didn't touch the pedal. And I says, well, let's taxi off the runway here. So we started to taxi off, and we're looking down at the engine, and one engine, the temperature's going sky high on this thing.
Oh, wow.
And we go, oh my gosh, that thing is really in bad shape. We better shut it down. So we, shut this thing all the way down. We taxi in, called maintenance. They were waiting for us, and they were all standing on the ramp looking out at us as we were pulling in. And I wish that I had a picture of their eyes. Their eyes were wide open looking, and they were just shocked. I got out of the airplane. We put the stairs on. We both got out of the airplane, walked down and looked, and you could see all the way through the engine from front to back.
Oh my gosh.
And what had happened is one of the blades, which is what happens when you lose one of those motors. One of the blades came off, or because it had a chip in it, may have lost balance, and it came through, and it tore out every single vein in the engine all the way out the back, and it looked like somebody was solder droppings all around the back of the engine.
Wow.
And it melted everything that it threw back there. And you, like I say, you could look straight through it at somebody standing behind it. And I said, that thing was completely destroyed, and yet it didn't act like a massive loss of engine failure. So you could have tried to take off and probably never made it. So, when I spoke to somebody about the reality of an engine failure is not always this massive jerk on the airplane that would be obvious to you that something's happened. It was very subtle and just enough to make us question there's something wrong. And since we hadn't called V1, since the other pilot hadn't called V1 yet, I shut it down, and thank goodness we stopped, because it would have been an interesting try at takeoff.
Wow.
So.
Now, earlier we had talked about the emergency landing. Now you just talked about an aborted takeoff. How how do you communicate that not only to the rest of your cabin crew, but to your passengers? What's going on?
Well, we were told for a long time, and especially in ground schools, they had lawyers that would come in and talk to us about, things you might say on the PA. You have to be careful of this, careful of that. An American would put in their books, for us to follow. Don't lie, never lie. And then here's the lawyer going, well, now, don't say this and don't say that. So you're going, now, wait a minute, we're not supposed to lie. And if we don't say that, we're lying. So what are you talking about here? But I think it was just tact. You had to be, you had to be a little bit realistic with folks.
Mm-hmm.
And in cases like that, we did let them know taxiing in that we had a malfunction on one of the engines. We want to look at it before we, attempt to go any further. We need to find out why this is happening. Just as a safety precaution, we want to make sure everything is working right. And that's as truthful as you can get, because at that point we didn't know either how much damage there was. So of course, when they finally realized what happened, they saw it too when they got off the airplane, and they were pretty in shock. But
wow.
I never really lied to anybody. If we were a lot of morning flights, when you first started out for the morning, you did a walk around. The co-pilot would do a walk around, or I could choose to do the walk around and let him get the cockpit ready. And if you found anything wrong on the airplane, you had to call maintenance out. One of the very interesting things is the tires have their own pressure gauge, and if one tire is low,
mm-hmm.
and it's below a certain pressure, they actually have to come out and change both main tires on that truck, because what happens, and what they're saying is that if one tire's pressure is so low, it has put a strain on the one good tire, and that could very well have stressed the belts on it. So they wanted to rechange both of them. So we have to be delayed.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that, you had to be very honest with these people and say it's a precaution. We can't just put air in these tires because it means there's a leak somewhere, and that's very dangerous. So, we're going to be a little while. Sometimes it wasn't anything. It was something that we had an entire book behind the logbook on the airplane, and it was for deferred items. You could say, well, you can still go. We're just going to have to get this fixed on the overnight maintenance, but it's not something we're going to need. And it might be an anti-ice valve or something, and we're not going to be in any icing conditions. Well, that you have to hold the flight up while you're writing all of this out in the logbook, and the mechanics have to dialogue, correctly. They have to write it down. It takes quite a while. And so you have to talk to them about, truthfully, it's taking time. We need to get all the paperwork exactly correct, or we can get in trouble. But it's nothing that's going to affect our flight. So you'll be perfectly safe, but we do have to get the paperwork done for this particular problem that may hurt some other pilots down the road. So, and so you really try to be as honest as you can. But in some cases, I think guys, maybe try to cheat and lie a little bit, but there's no reason to if you just use it, if you can assure them of what's happening and they have confidence in you. I think that's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you try to be honest and open.
Yeah. We have this is great. We have a lot of great questions. Here's another one from Bella Vicky. Did you ever have to turn the plane around because someone was having a screaming fit? She's asking for a friend. Let me add on to that, or maybe not only that, or did you ever have to turn around? Maybe did you ever have any belligerent passengers that may have been intoxicated or high? And I'm not talking about the band, but on any of your commercial flights, any passengers that got on were causing trouble, stuff like that. And how did you handle that?
Well, the only flight where we had really an emergency on wasn't for an unruly passenger, or most of those I would say the handful of problems we had showed themselves while we were still on the ground. So we just didn't leave with people like that on the airplane. But the only emergency return was actually a medical emergency, and it happened, believe it or not, to a flight attendant. She had started the coffee. We took off. They were seated, and the coffee. She right after takeoff, she got up to go over, and the coffee pot had not been secured in its place, and it came out, and she got hot coffee all over her.
Oh my
burned
goodness.
her arm real bad.
Ooh.
And they called us quickly and said she's in really bad shape, and so we got an emergency to come back. And I think the tower had told me when we got on the ground, they said that was an air show approach you made. And I says, well, we didn't have much choice. So we made a pretty quick turn and a pretty steep turn and a pretty quick return at a low altitude to get it turned around and back on the runway so she could get some medical attention. And poor thing, she really was burnt bad.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
But never because somebody was unruly. Like I say, the handful of times I had that, it was at the gate. We just dealt with it before we ever got moving. So, but they just another added adventure.
Wow.
To the whole program. It happens.
AJ Smith, as we were talking earlier about the engines, wants to know, is it the same rule on jets? Deadfoot, dead engine.
Deadfoot, dead engine, yes. Yeah, that's exactly it. And but like I say, that entails in your mind a very obvious experience that when it happens, and they train you that way, it's very obvious you've lost an engine. So you're sitting there with your 1 foot jammed to the floor. And like I say, in the most serious case possible, just before V1, it never happened that way.
Wow.
I mean, I knew that something was going on, but it wasn't dramatic and drastic.
Oh, wow.
I'll tell you a very funny story.
Okay, let's go.
About my multi-engine rating. When we went to get our multi-engine ratings, it was a very good friend of mine. We went to high school together, college together. We played football together. And he's the one who got me into flying. Scared me half to death.
Oh, yeah, that's a friend you told us about last time. Yeah.
And anyway, John and I, he was a great pilot and still is. And he and I decided to go to this company to get a multi-engine rating. And they said, if you both go together and you change seats in flight, we can get you guys a multi-engine rating in just about 4 hours. So he said, great. It's an hour each time, And so we went up and we trained for these multi-engine ratings, got everything done. And the day we were going to go for our test, he set it up so that was going to be, both of us were going to get tested. And the airplane was out of Reed Hillby Airport in San Jose. So John and I show up, we're ready to go. And the instructor, he was in a tizzy. He had some problems going on with one of their students. And I think they had taxied an airplane into another airplane. He was
my gosh, wow.
He was all crazy going. And he says, okay, you guys, go take the Apache. That was the dual engine Apache that we were going to get our rating. And he says, go take it on up to San Carlos, and the instructor's waiting for you. The check airman is waiting for you. Oh, okay. So we didn't think about it.
Yeah.
We were just thinking, well, I guess we're cleared to solo, like it was like you would solo somebody in a private little airplane, single engine airplane.
Okay.
So we get in that airplane, we get in and we fly up there. John flies it. He flies up to San Carlos. We land and we walk inside. And the gal says, "Can I help you?" I says, "Yeah, we're here. Jim sent us up here to take our check ride, And so he says, "Oh, let me get the check, Aaron." And he comes out. He goes, "Okay, you guys ready for your check ride?" Yeah. He says, "Well, where's Jim?" He said, "Oh, well, he's busy back at the airport in Reed Hillview." And he said, "What do you mean he's in Reed Hillview?" He says, "Well, he said just take the airplane and go up there." He says, "You guys can't fly a twin-engine airplane. You don't have a license." And of course, we're both looking at each other like, there goes our whole career.
Oh, no.
What did this guy get us into? He's right. We don't have a multi-engine rating.
And he sends you guys up there.
And he sends us up there. Well, they were good buddies, I guess. And he was so mad. This poor guy was so mad. He says, "Take me down right now. Let's get in that." You're going to make me lose my license and everything. So we get in there and John flies the airplane down there.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're going down there, he's looking at our deal, and it says that we were glider pilots. We were licensed glider pilots also, because we had towed sailplanes and flew them. And so he started asking me questions in the back seat. He turned around and he says, "Gliders, you guys, are you instructors?" "Yeah, we instruct in gliders." He says, "Hey, well, what would it take me to get my gliders ready?" "Well, we could do this." And we were talking all the way down there. So we get all the way down to Reed Hillview, and John says, "Well, we're at Reed Hillview." And he says, "Oh, well, here." And he pulled the engine to idle. He says, "Now land us." So John goes ahead and he gets in the pattern and he lands and he taxis to the gate. And he goes inside. The guy gets out, goes inside, and I'm talking to John. I says, "Well, now what do we do?" He says, "I don't know," but we hear him in the back. They're yelling at each other. He says, "You got me in trouble. Don't do that." He goes, "You don't send those guys up. They're not even rated." In the meantime, we hear the typewriter going. And they finish arguing with each other, and he walks out and he hands the certificate to John. He says, "Well, you got your multi-engine rating." Oh my gosh, this is crazy. So he says, "Okay, Paul, you fly me back." So we go out and get in the airplane. I said, "Hey, he likes glider flying. Keep talking to him." So we took off out of there. I was flying, flew all the way up to San Carlos. Same thing happened. He's talking to John about glider piloting, and John says, "Well, they're getting close." And he says, "Oh yeah," and he pulls his engine to idle. He says, "Well, now land this thing." But I guess he knew we were, we knew what we were doing. He was pretty happy with us. He trusted his buddy.
Yeah.
And we got a multi-engine rating. But I thought, oh my gosh, my whole career flashed before my eyes. And
oh my gosh,
it was one of the very interesting starts to my career.
Wow, that's funny. So getting back to another question. What was the worst turbulence you ever experienced during a flight?
The worst turbulence I ever got and I mean, this is for everywhere. You'd think Florida was pretty bad, and Dallas could get sticky. But the worst I ever flew was into Reno, Nevada. And it was when I was in corporate flying, and we had a Gulfstream. And we were going up there to pick up the gentleman that owned the airplane and his wife and their family. We were flying up there. We were turning final, just the other pilot and myself in the airplane. We were turning final on the base leg, they called it, to final. And as we were in the turn, we hit turbulence, one big, massive jolt of turbulence. Threw our headsets off.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Threw books in the cockpit up in the air. It came down and almost hit me in the head. A book we had laying on the floor there, the Jepson manuals with everything in it. Stuff and everywhere in that airplane, and it threw my hands off the controls, and I grabbed them again. Went back and grabbed the thing and. I asked if the co-pilot was okay. "You're all right?" "Yeah, I'm okay, but I can't find my headset." And I mean, we got it leveled off and got it on the ground and landed and went in. We got up, went to the back of the airplane, and all the drawers and the bar and everything were out. Stuff was everywhere.
Wow.
And we had to have the airplane actually checked pretty good there. We called some people out to check it because we were concerned with if there was any damage. That was a pretty stout airplane, the Gulfstream, but it was okay. But and I was very surprised that there wasn't more damage to the inside of the airplane. But that was about the worst I think I ever suffered.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my gosh, I hope I don't ever have to do that again. But Reno was you really had to respect Reno. And
yeah. Well, I know, like during late spring, summer into the early fall, they get a lot of those afternoon and evening thunderstorms that can get pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And they get in matter of fact, it's if you get this up in the Tahoe area, the mountain ranges, the backsides of those mountain ranges, they every once a year the glider pilots all get together because of the wave, the winds over those hills. You get into these waves, and the wave portion is an immense amount of lift, and they can get up to 20,000, 25,000 feet. And go all the way down that mountain range, almost down to Southern California, and they love that. But the bad side of that is that close into the mountain is all down weather, right down the hill, and then just behind that bounces back up in the wave, and then behind the wave is the rotor. That's where it's very, 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 very turbulent. So you get beat up pretty badly down there. And but you have to be real careful up there. It's just really slowed down if you get in any. Thank God we were slowed down for the approach speed. But if you're going through it pretty fast, you can really do damage to the airplane.
Wow. Now I know you started your commercial career with AirCal, which was based out of Orange County in Southern California. What did you think about that short runway there as far as landing and even the interesting departures there where you'd have to pull back? Yeah,
they had the landings. You just got pretty good. You were shooting for a spot. That was one airport where you shot for a spot on the runways, on the numbers, and you didn't fool around, because if you couldn't get it on the ground by then, you just went around. You don't even mess around there. So the landings you got, you knew in your mind, I got one spot and I have to be there. I have to be at the right altitude, or forget it. The departures were always quite odd. I don't know. And it was all for noise.
Yeah.
They didn't like the noise on the homes out there.
Yeah.
So you took off. And they called it a no-pack takeoff. You could run the APU that would pressurize the airplane, and then you could shut the bleed airs from the engine off so that you could get more power to the engine. You were getting full power to the engines. And then you would do max power takeoffs. As soon as you rotated, you had to pull this thing up at about 500 feet. You had to pull the power back about 30%, 30 to 35% of the power all the way back, which meant you better get the nose over real quick or you'll lose all your airspeed. And now, and I called it trolling for Cessnas, because you couldn't see over the nose. You were looking out the side windows.
Oh, wow.
Is there anybody underneath us or anybody out in front of us? And you're just hanging in the air. You're only climbing at a few 100, 300, 400 feet a minute in this big airplane.
Yeah.
And over one spot, you have to make a turn on top of it all. You can't just roll it over because you're slow now, and the stall speed goes up pretty quickly. So you make a nice smooth turn, and then you head up the inlet there from the ocean.
Yeah.
And as soon as you got to the coast, then you could add power and climb out of there.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make sense, but everybody had to do it, or you didn't get any flights out of it. You lost your flights if you were caught making too much noise. And every flight was noise monitored.
Uh-huh.
And And some guys would just say, forget it and leave the power up. And then,
Oh man.
and then AirCal would get a warning from the company. Hey, you guys, you just, we're going to lose another spot if we have too many of these. But they made you do it, and it was kind of odd. I just thought it was crazy.
Yeah, I've flown in and out of there a couple times, and actually I found that departure kind of fun. But yeah, you could definitely hear it and feel it. I think I flew out of there. First time I flew out of there was on a 737-800. The second time was on like what was it? Like an ERJ 135, 145. And sure enough, I think 800 feet pull back, and it's all of a sudden just feels like, yeah, you're right. Like you're kind of just floating.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of really slow. And
yeah,
it was kind of fun, actually.
It's like you've lost the engines, and you're thinking people that don't know it, or not prepared for it. It's pretty scary stuff, but you got used to it.
I have another question here from Pickles. Let's see. Captain Paul, did you ever do go around? And whenever you did go arounds, how did you tell the passenger? And did you tell the passengers why you're doing the go around?
Yeah, again, it goes back to you be honest with them, and generally beforehand, if it was going to be kind of an iffy visibility problem, you would give them a heads up that we're gonna try to do an approach into whatever airport we're going to. The weather has been variable up and down. We're going to do our very best to get in there safely. If we don't believe we can do it safely, we may have to go around. So if you hear the airplane go around, just know that we didn't get a good view of the runway. So for your safety, we're going to go back around, and we'll set up and either wait for it to get better, or if it's getting better while we're climbing out, we'll come back and shoot another one. So so they and it happens. It did happen. It happens sometimes. I think the worst. I think I think it might have been Houston. We had to do two approaches before we got on the ground. For that very reason, and just we'll just be honest with people. We didn't get a good look at the runway, and we're going to go back and do one more, and we'll see if that worked. If not, we'll find another airport.
We'll divert. Yeah. Did you ever have to divert any time?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And you wait, and if it doesn't get any better, that was one of the. Well, I think you might talk about it anyway, about the seriousness of weather and what outcomes can be very, very disastrous that we saw. But that's an interesting story, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Wow. That's there's a lot of things you've experienced over your career, and
well, I've been pretty fortunate. I always felt pretty fortunate that it was things we were prepared for. And like I say, the training is really really well deserved. And you become pretty adept at reading things before they become a real emergency, which is really that's the secret. Is you try to pay as much attention to everything that's going on, and you can pick things out if you're alert enough all the time. You can pick things out before they become emergencies, and that's really what I try to do.
Wow. We have another question here, and this is great. Everybody, a lot of people asking questions. Any lightning strikes, and did you have a go around after a touch and go?
Lightning strikes. I think I've had 2 lightning strikes, but the airplanes are surprisingly well equipped for lightning strikes. I think the 2 strikes that we got, you could tell it was just a flash, pretty much.
Wow.
You got a little bit in the cockpit. And when you get on the ground, you could tell where it entered and where it exited. They do if you have to ride it up, and then if it was a significant lightning strike, and they can find where it came in, and where it exited. But it's really the airplane will handle it very safely. There's no danger to anybody in the airplane. Mm-hmm. We would get a lot of St. Elmo's fire on the windows, where it was just constant flash of stuff, and you'd call it, St. Elmo's fire, and that was static type that you could get in a storm. That was pretty interesting. But yeah, the lightning strikes, I think I've only had 2 that were very significant. But we tried to stay away from bad weather.
Wow. Hey, Sal, do you have anything you'd like to ask Captain Paul, or you just been enjoying all these experiences?
I'm just enjoying them. I'm listening, taking it in.
Matter of fact, we talked about a lot of emergency stuff, and I know, Sal, you don't like people to talk about this at times because we know you're a humble dude, but the 777 that lost the wheel a month or 2 ago at SFO, right?
Yeah.
Sal's the guy that had the world famous video. He's the guy that filmed that thing taking off. That was all over the news. Yeah. So anyways, good job, Sal. And I have one last question for you, Captain Paul, before we let you get going. After you retired from American Airlines, did you ever fly again, like for leisure, on any kind of general aviation aircraft?
Well, we did. I retired at age 60.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, that's what their limit was. A year later, they moved it up to 65.
Oh, wow.
But I know it was okay. I mean, it was I was prepared, for all that. And the only reason they went to 65, the airlines didn't like it. They didn't want that.
Oh.
It was the government that wanted it.
Oh.
Because the government wanted, pilots to pay more into Social Security and take less out, see? So they added them 5 more years. Well, the airlines are going, but we want to get rid of those high guys because the guy we hire when they're gone is getting about 1/3 the pay.
Yeah.
So that, so it was just kind of foolish.
Yeah.
But I did what I did when I gave up. I walked away from flying. I was really pleased that I got to do that for a career. It was exciting. It was fun. It was something I enjoyed. The daily challenge of taking as much as 4 or 5 variables and constantly trying to control them in weather and fuel and the plane and mechanicals, and it just was it was a thrill to go to work and enjoy it, doing it, and every day walking away saying, okay, we did good today. And but I got home and I got probably within a day or 2 got a phone call from my nephew, and he said, we were waiting for you to retire. I bought a King Air.
Oh, wow.
And I says, well, I'll get you a pilot. He goes, no, we want you to fly it. And I says, geez, I don't know, so, but I ended up flying that for 5 years.
Wow.
And he had a big electrical business, contracting business.
Okay, yeah,
and
I remember,
he flew up and down the central California and
so you were
Nevada.
You were his pilot?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I flew for him. And that was a lot of interesting flying and fun, and it did that for a while, and then they had 2 other people that were involved in the use of it. So one guy, I flew a lot to Grangeville, Idaho, so that was quite an experience. But as they got the flying for that gentleman got to be pretty high. He kept saying he lost his pilot, and I took over flying him around for a while until he got another pilot. And he just dragged his feet. He didn't want to get another pilot. So finally I said, after 5 years, I said, I want to be home with my family. I want to be home with my wife. and I'll get another pilot checked out, and you guys will have that set up for you. So that's what I did.
Wow.
But I loved it. I loved it. It was a challenge. It was fun, and thank God we didn't have any mishaps.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. Wow. Well, Captain Paul, thank you so much for coming back and sharing more experiences with us, and just some of the things that
I talk to you about one thing I was going to mention.
Oh,
before,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
About weather.
Yes, go ahead.
It was if you've ever, you can't imagine how respectful pilots have to be of weather. And one of the interesting things about that I learned for all the years I flew, for some reason, I don't remember ever getting trained significantly on the use of radar. You kind of had that part in front of you. You learned the basics of it. You learned it on any airplane you had radar, weather. But how to interpret it was a very, very adept skill.
Wow.
We had a flight one time. We were supposed to leave Dallas Fort. We were supposed to leave Houston, fly to Kansas City, and then on to New York. So we head up. We're kind of heading on up north to Kansas City. And they had a complete wall of weather. I mean, it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles wide.
Wow.
That was covering our approach up to Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no way on the radar, you could see on the radar it was all closed in pretty good. And every once in a while, there would be a little area that would show up on the radar as a small hole. Well, if the weather around it was so significant and large and wide, they called those little holes sucker holes.
Oh, wow.
And if you thought you could go through that hole, you were going to really walk yourself into trouble.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Well, we got up there, and of course, it was really bad. We were not going to try, and it was thunderstorms, and they were a complete line of them all the way across, going right over the airport. So we decided, well, we're going to have to hold. We're not going to make it through. We're going in holding. They already had 2 airplanes in holding, so we ended up the 3rd airplane. Then they added a 4th airplane.
Mm.
Pretty soon there were 7 airplanes in hold, different altitudes, and you just fly around in this oval pattern in one area. And we flew around, and it wouldn't move, and it wouldn't move. And then all of a sudden, it's funny because you have pilots that want to be the hero. And there was a U.S. air pilot, and he says, I think I can get through. I see a spot. I think I want to try. And there he's going, yeah, go ahead. You know. So center says, you sure you want to go? He says, yeah, we can make it through there. And he says, okay, take up a heading, such will vector you in. And then they went off on a different frequency. So you could listen on another radio, but I wasn't paying much attention. I says, he'll be back. And sure enough, he's gone for about 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden, here comes this guy back on the frequency. It's U.S. Air. And even the controller goes, oh, you're back. He goes, don't go there, you guys. Don't go there. It's awful. Don't go there. So I said, well, you shouldn't have tried in the first place. But what did happen is one of our pilots took off from Dallas, thought he could fly under it to Kansas City and beat us all in there. And we couldn't hear him, so we didn't know what happened to him. Mm-hmm. But supposedly everyone thought he made it. Well, we flew around in our circle for a while. We were running low on fuel, said we need to go over to St. Louis and get fuel. So we flew to St. Louis, told the passengers what happened. This weather never broke. We didn't have a chance to get through there. It's just impossible, but we're going to get fuel, and we're going to head back because they're saying it's starting to move away from the airport. If you want to stay on the airplane, we'd love to have you stay, and we'll try our best. to get in there, but we want to do it safely.
Right. Yeah.
So they were happy. They all stayed on the airplane. We fueled up. We took off. We headed there. And while we're heading there, this stuff moved right back over the airport again.
Oh, no.
Everybody had to go into holding patterns. We went one more time. We flew for a while. We went one more time back to St. Louis, got fuel, talked to the dispatchers, and we worked out a deal. I says, listen, there's only one chance we'll get in there. They said, you need to get that airplane to Kansas City. Told the passengers what we were going to do. I says, we're going to try and fuel up extra fuel. We're going to fly north up toward Chicago, and we're going to go around the north end of it and come around the backside because it seems to be moving this way back and forth. So everybody was happy with that. We fueled up. We flew around the north end, got all the way around the backside, came down, and you could see the weather, and you could see the lights from the airport. And we made it. I think we got it. So they let us in there. We went in, shot the approach. We landed. That's it for the night. We pulled up to the gate, parked. Thank God we got in here.
Yeah.
Thank God everyone was happy. All the passengers were happy.
Uh-huh.
Put the airplane away. I'm closing the logbook out. The co-pilot has to get out and do a walk around the back. He comes up. He says, Paul, you got to come down and look at that airplane from Dallas. I said, why? What's the matter? He says, come down here and look at it. So I get out of the airplane. We walk down on the ramp and I walk up. And there was this Super 80 parked next to us in the dark. And it looks like somebody shot that thing with a 50 caliber machine gun.
Oh,
the entire leading edges of the wing were completely destroyed.
Oh my
The
gosh.
tail rudder and the tail aileron, the entire fin system
Whoa.
was destroyed. The nose cone on the airplane where the radar is was gone.
Oh my goodness.
And the outer panels on the pilot's windows were almost opaque. They were gone. You couldn't see out.
Oh.
And we found out later, called maintenance and talked about it some weeks later, and they said they couldn't even get a ferry permit. They had to take that airplane, tow it over, and dismantle it. It would never fly again.
Wow.
And I said, that's what happens when you get a little cocky and you think, I can make it. And weather is not something you want to play that game
and they
with.
destroyed that plane.
Yeah, I was really blown
Oh
away
my
by it too.
gosh.
And I said, thank God, we didn't try to do that, but you have to be really, really careful with weather, and stuff like that really sobers you up too.
I can imagine.
You don't mess with Mother Nature. It's just not. But that, and I don't know. I never found out, but I know that pilot probably got severe detention.
I was just going to ask.
If he may have lost his job, I don't know, but we never
Wow.
found out. But I'm sure he probably ended up a co-pilot for quite a while. So it's weather is something you learned to really respect. And
I can imagine. Wow.
It can shut everything down.
Wow. And that's wow. And just getting that plane on the ground, with the passengers and everybody safe,
Yeah.
nobody getting hurt or anything worse,
Well, I can't imagine in what they went through, the noise. Just if you go through heavy rain in that airplane, it makes a lot of noise. If you get in any kind of any sleet or hail, it's a scary noise. So I can't imagine what they were hearing.
Wow.
It had to be
That'd be terrifying, I bet.
really terrifying.
Wow. Wow. I'm a little speechless, to be honest with you. It's just like, my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. So that's a memory I was always, I don't want to mess with weather.
Yeah.
I'm glad I treated it like it got treated for me as far as I was concerned.
Wow. Wow. Well, Captain Paul, thank you so much again
You're
for being
welcome.
with us again. And, it's always a pleasure
Well,
talking with you. And I
enjoy.
I get to see you every week,
Yeah.
on Sundays here at church in the mornings. And, we always say hi and,
Yeah.
and stuff. And most of all, I just appreciate your friendship.
Well, I love talking about flying. I love people that love flying, and it's fun for me too.
Oh,
Enjoy it
yeah.
anytime.
All right, my friend. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
God bless.
Have a good evening, and thank you again. And
You're welcome.
yep. All righty.
And thanks for all the questions.
Yes. It was great participation. And all righty, we will let you go. And all right, we're going to continue on with tonight's live stream. Let me see where we are at. There we go. All righty. All right, guys, it's time. We're going to do a little flight tracking tonight. So, Sal, you're going to be writing down the requests. But tonight we are going to do an abbreviated flight tracking. So tonight we're only going to do one request per person because I'm under a little bit of a time constraint here. So one request per person. So make it good. And then of course, let's be patient, but most of all, let's have fun. So if you want to start getting your request in the chat, Sal will write them down. And in the meantime, while we're doing that, I just want to share a couple things real quick. I know we haven't been doing, weekly shows like we did in the past, where the show was almost just about weekly. Unfortunately, my schedule has just been really busier than usual, and just for the time being, we're probably going to still be at 1 to 2 shows a month for now. As of now, I don't have our next show scheduled, but we have a community page on the YouTube channel here where I'll be updating and our schedule, and I've been posting other things as well. But I thank everybody for always being coming to the shows. And I know I never asked this, but if you wouldn't mind dropping a like, and if you haven't subscribed, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, that would be awesome. So we'll just do one request per person tonight for flight tracking. I'm going to open up Flight Radar 24 on my other screen. And let me see, am I logged in? I need to log in real quick. Ooh. Well, I'm always logged in at home, but not here at my office. So let me get logged in here real quick. All right, where am I? There we go. So I'm going to hit up the screen share. Let's make sure we've got Flight Radar up on the screen. And there we go. All right, you should see Flight Radar. And of course, I always have it right in the San Francisco Bay Area where I live in my local airport, San Francisco, Oakland, and of course, San Jose. And Sal, whenever you're ready, we can get some.
Okay, so you said one, but Greg had. I think I will take the first one that Greg has is Golf Oscar Sierra Tango 1-1.
Okay. All right. Oh, I hit something wrong here. What was it again? I'm sorry, Sal.
It was
1-1.
Golf Oscar Sierra Tango 1-1.
1-1. All right. Ooh. All right. What do we got here? All right. So we've got here the Canadian Royal Air Force. And this thing's doing some circling. And what type of plane is this? This is a Lockheed C-130 Hercules. Ooh. And wow, this plane's fairly young. It's only like 13 years old. And let's see so it looks like what airport did they come out of? Pembroke. And they are going to Trenton. Let's see. Are they going to Trenton, New Jersey, or is there a Trenton in Canada? I'm not sure. But yeah, it looks like it. I don't know if it's doing some training or maybe like they're circling because of weather. I don't know. Like Captain Paul was saying earlier, how they circled.
I think they're just doing training. Maybe looks like training.
Yeah, it could be.
It's not like they're going far away. It's just in the same spot.
Well, that's true. They're not very far from
Yeah.
their airport. Where is this at? Let's see.
Yeah, I think it looked to me. It looks like training because they're in the same vicinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, Greg. Thank you for that one. Oh wait, let's. Yeah, because you know what? Hold on one second. Yeah, they're flying fairly low at like 11,800 feet, 850, and they're not going too fast. So yeah, you're probably right, Sal. They probably are doing little training exercises. All right, Greg. Thank you so much for that one. What do we have next, Sal?
MJ's is Juliet Alpha Tango 800.
All right. All right. What does MJ have for us? He has for us some Jet Smart.
JetSmart.
Ooh, Jet Smart. This is the one out of Santiago,
Peru?
Chile. Let's
Oh,
take a look
from
at this
Santiago.
plane. Ooh, Jet Smart. Oh, it has a duck on the rudder.
I dig the spirit. I mean, the spirit. I dig the frontier of South America.
Are they really? Yeah, it kind of seems
I
like
don't know.
that. Yeah, and this is what is this? An A320 Neo? Yeah, sure is. And the photographer is Davi Avila. And like I say, I always show that just I don't want to get sued. I know it's an old joke, but please don't sue me for showing your photo, but I will gladly give you credit. But yeah, I kind of dig JetSmart's livery a little bit. I don't know. I always think red, white, and blue always goes together pretty well, even though their reds or their blues a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But they go ahead, Sal.
Well, it gives me kind of like the frontier kind of vibe, kind of. Because of the animal, because of the little duck in the back.
Right. Now I'm not sure if this plane maybe has like an animal name, like Frontier. They'll actually name the plane like whatever the animal is, but it doesn't look like it. But that's a cute little duck. I mean, that looks like a duck to me.
It's a duck, yellow duck.
Yep, and they have the red winglets.
Red winglets.
Winglets for Lady Cat. You know, she loves her winglets. All right, MJ, thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate that one. All right, let's we can go to the next one.
Just because I'm not familiar with the U, it's
okay.
Tango U Papa 9637. That's Albanor.
It's Alvanor. So is this going to be a Russian entry?
Maybe.
It sure is, and it is Aviastar, the 757.
Uniform. Oh boy.
Yeah, this is an Alvanor classic, and as usual, it'll say where it departed from, but usually never says where it's headed to. So I'm assuming maybe somewhere out of Russia. It looks like it's headed towards what is that? What country is this right here?
That's Russia.
Is that still Russia? Like, okay.
Yeah, the island just above Japan, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Not the island, the peninsula.
The peninsula. There you go.
There
peninsula.
you go. Yep. I was thinking about the island. There's not an island.
Yep. And look at the lineup right there going down into Japan.
Yeah.
And Southeast Asia. Wow. That's
oh
my goodness. As I move, there's just more and more and more. It's just like I always say, it just boggles my mind how well air traffic control keeps these planes all safe and on their route. So that is very cool. All right, Alvanor, thank you so much, friend. We appreciate it. And
thank you, Alvanor.
Thank you, Alvanor.
I have another one. The last one, I don't have any more. But the last one is from Adria. It's American Airlines flight 1225.
Okay, give me that one more time. I'm sorry. Somebody sent me a text that I had to look at. I'm sorry.
American Airlines AA1225.
AA125 American Airlines.
No, 1225.
Oh, 1225. Oh,
yes.
There we go. Okay, what do we have here? And this is our last one. Nobody else has any?
Yeah, that's
you know what? Everybody, let's take a second turn after this. If you guys want to do a second one, let's go for it. We still have a little bit more time. All right. So this was Adria, correct?
Yes.
So This is the American Airlines America West Retro A321 going from Atlanta to Los Angeles. I want to take a look at this. Wow, America West. That's a blast from the past. I remember America West at San Jose when I used to go watch planes and, plane spotting there a lot. And I remember this livery. This livery always really spoke southwestern area of the United States to me. And I think America West used to fly A320s and 737s out of San Jose when I used to go there. And but yep, I like these. I like how American has at least given a retro version of some of the airlines that they acquired over the past. And this one,
Yes.
as she submitted, like I said, it should just about be in LAX in about 5 minutes. It came from Atlanta, so that's very cool. Thank you, Adria. And let's do a second round, guys. We could do one more from everybody if anybody wants to do a second one.
I have Kevin R.
Kevin R. Oh, wait, hold on. Before that, we got to do it. I just have to do it. There we go. All right.
Start with the second one. Okay, Kevin R is November 538 Alpha Sierra.
All right. This is Kevin R. Is Alaska Airlines. Oh, yes. All right. This is the Alaska Airlines Star Wars livery.
Star Wars.
Plane going from LAX to Portland. It's just outside of Portland. It's almost there. Let's take a closer look at this plane. This is really cool. And I've always thought, as far as domestic carriers in the United States, that Alaska always has had the best special livery paint jobs.
Yes, they do. They don't go cheap on special liveries.
Yep. Like I think I said it on the last show when Southwest did their Disney special livery, like I think a couple years ago. I didn't like it. I thought, nah, it's not as good as what Alaska does. But yeah, this plane definitely screams Star Wars to me. Definitely. Awesome. And there's a photographer's name, Brad T. This is a fairly recent photo of it too, just a few weeks ago. At this is at Houston Intercontinental, George Bush. All righty, Kevin R. Thank you so much. Oh, and I accidentally did it again. I do it on occasion. Let's go back to there. We go. It's back on the screen. Thank you, Kevin R. And let's see. Let's dive into another one.
All right. The next one is MJ.
All right, MJ.
Is uniform. Oh boy. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. R. O as an Oscar. It's
wait, URO.
Romeo. There you go, Romeo.
URO.
Yeah. Uniform Romeo Oscar 651.
651. Let's see what MJ's cooked up for us now. Ooh, let's see. Is this European cargo?
Oh, no way. That A340.
Oh, is this the
I have a picture of it.
Is this the former
yes.
Virgin Atlantic?
Yes, that's it.
A340? That is it.
Yes.
It still has remnants of the red, your favorite shade of red, Sal.
Yep.
Yeah, this is
I love that one. I have pictures of it.
And it'll come into LAX like every so often.
But when it comes, it's like they do it in batches. I don't know, like it shows up for like a little bit while and then like it disappears. Yeah.
And let's see, where's this plane? I don't know where Haikou is. I'm not sure, but this is things like on a 14-hour flight. Bournemouth. I'm not too good with Europe and Asian destinations, but yeah, this thing's on quite a haul right now, and it still has another. Oh wow! It just left a little over 2 hours ago. It still has 11 and a half hours to go to its destination. Wow, that's a long flight for that crew, but wow.
European cargo, pretty good. Pretty
Yep,
good.
very cool. All right, thank you, MJ. And we got any more, Sal?
Yes, I have Adria. She is Juliet Delta 608.
All righty. Capital Airlines. Let's take a look at this. Capital Air. Oh, this is a special livery. What is this? An A330. Capital Airlines. Let's take a closer look at this special livery. This is the Universal Beijing Resort livery.
What?
Whoa, I've never seen this one before.
Me
Wow. Is that the
neither.
the Minions?
Yeah.
And then on the rudder that looks like a dragon. I hope the dragon isn't going after the Minions.
You know what? You know who should do a deal with Universal? Spirit.
Oh,
They already have a yellow plane. They
Yeah.
can just do the little minions.
yeah, that's true. What's the one special livery that Spirit has?
The Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, Super Mario Brothers. Okay, that's it. And let's see, this plane's going from Moscow to Hangzhou. So it's going from Russia to China, basically. And what is that? That's a little over 8-hour flight. Wow, very cool. Thank you, Adria. That was a very nice submission there. Do I have
Right.
anybody else want to?
I have Albanors.
All right, let's go for Alvin.
I think it is Sierra Uniform 1701.
All right, let's see what he's got for us. Alvinor, man, you sure do love the Russian stuff. All right, this is
Hey,
Aeroflot.
Aeroflot.
Oh, a 350, A350. Oh, let's take a look at this A350 here. Okay, you know what? I like that.
Yes.
Um,
I was going to say, at least they have a nice livery.
yeah, and of course, most liveries look good on the A350. But that's a good looking plane. And look at the inside of the winglet on the other side, Sal. It's like orange. Am I seeing that right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Wow. This is that's very cool. And let's see, where's it flying to from? I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's going to Moscow on a little over 8-hour flight, which is that's nothing for an A350. Yeah, that's a good looking plane. I like it. I like it. All righty. We have any more?
Yes. Well, I'm not sure if it's a submission or not. It said, well, Greg. I mean, MJ says on Lady Cat's Finding, he has a registration. I'm not sure if it's a submission. I don't know.
Yeah, let's try it. Let's.
Okay,
see what
it's
it is, yeah.
November 994 Foxtrot Echo.
Okay, this is going to be a FedEx submission for MJ. Oh, Cessna 208 Cargo Master. Oh, okay. Let's see. And look at this. And look who the photographer is. This is Mr. MJ Scanlon. Hey, MJ, please.
Is it?
Yeah. MJ,
No
please, please don't sue me. He took this.
That's
Oh my
cool.
goodness. He took this picture over 20 years ago on May 15th, 2003. Right there at his home base in Memphis. Wow. This is a classic MJ shot. You know what? I've
Nice.
seen some of these. Well, I don't know if they still fly this type now. Maybe MJ can let us know, but I've seen like a lot of these smaller FedEx planes, like at smaller airports. Where was I?
Yes.
Down in El Centro years ago when I was there at the Imperial Airport. I think I saw one there. I think I may have seen one. Oh, where else
Hey.
was it? Maybe Monterey or something like that? Monterey Airport out
I've
here in
seen them in
California.
Visalia, California.
Okay, that's right. I've seen them off of the 99 freeway when you pass by the
Yes.
airport. I've seen them parked out there. Yes.
Yes, Visalia has them.
All right, I have my submission. Hey, thank you for that,
Hey,
MJ. That's
Greg has
fantastic.
one more.
Okay, let's go for it.
All right. It is IYE514.
What in the world is this? Who is this again?
Greg. Greg
Ye-
Iverson.
Yemenia. Is this from Yemen? I've never heard of this airline before. This is an A320, and it's headed towards Jeddah. Let's take a closer look at this plane. Oh, I've never heard of this airline or ever seen. Yeah, wow. I always like seeing new stuff. What's your first impression, Sal, of the paint livery on this plane?
It look. I don't know. It's not bad.
It's not
It's
bad.
very Euro white, like everybody else.
Yeah, I guess because white's cheap.
Yes. White's cheap.
Yeah,
And
I
then
kind of like the font they used for their name.
yes.
I'm big into what they call typography, which is the use of fonts, just because I work with doing graphics and stuff like that. For me, the red is a little too bright, almost a little too orangish for me, but
Uh-huh.
that's just me. You know, it's funny how
see.
we sit here and judge these things, but that's cool. All right. Hey, thank you so much for that one. Let's last call for any more. My chat slowed down. Oh my gosh, my chat froze. Now I'm having to scroll all the way down. All right, I think here we go. Jetson's logo on the tail. Greg. Adrian
I'm trying to
loves
find the. Hold on. DY. No. DB. What is? Oh my God, Yankee Tangos. I have memorized it. It's D ABYT.
DABYT.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And,
yes.
That flight's live right now, going from Buenos Aires, Argentina, back to Frankfurt, Germany, and the
All right. It's been going to Argentina. Darn it. It needs to get over here.
And this thing is out over the Atlantic right now. It's still got about 7 hours to Frankfurt. I like the retro livery. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
It screams 1960s.
It looks really good on the Lufty on the 747.
It does. Yeah, it really does.
All right, Adria, do you want more?
Sure.
Steveson? Okay, Adria has one more.
Yep, and then I'll have one or two.
November 8, 7, 10. Mike,
okay. Okay, Southwest. It's a 737 Max. Oh, the Amua 1. And let's see, it's not in the air right now, but let's see. Today's April 25th. So where is it right now? It's sitting on the ground in Houston, and it looks like it has a flight up to Austin here in the next hour or so. But where has it been recently? It was in New Orleans earlier, Atlanta, Denver, Chicago. Wonder if it's been out here on the West Coast recently. Let's take a look. It was in Las Vegas and Los Angeles earlier in the week. Long Beach. You know what? Long Beach gets a lot of the Southwest special livery flights, planes I've noticed. For a while there, they were getting Freedom 1 a lot. Which, matter of fact, I want to look up Freedom 1. Thank you for that one. Yeah, let's look up Freedom 1.
I have one more.
Okay. All
right, it's Alpha 5285.
85. This is American Airlines.
American.
So this is American Eagle operated by PSA Airlines. Mitsubishi CRJ 900. And who submitted this one again?
Velabiki.
Okay. This is a CRJ 900. PSA. What? We used to have a PSA years ago out here on the West Coast. They were the competitor to Aircal back in the day that when Captain Paul used to fly for them. So this plane's headed from Philly to Indy. And CRJ 900. All righty. Thank you for that. Oh, wait. Let's see. Not a bad flight. About an hour and a half. So not too bad of a flight. long enough to enjoy the ride. And all right, I am going to. I have one I want to do before we call it a night. And if you have any, Sal, let me know. But I want to see where I want to see where Southwest Freedom One is. You know me, I still haven't seen that plane in person. And actually, it's in the air right now. Let's see, is it, or they just had their transponder on? They're running a little late out of Vegas. They're going to fly this plane from Vegas to Indianapolis. It was scheduled to leave about 10, 13 minutes ago, or at least leave the gate. Let's push in on Las Vegas Airport.
Where is it going tomorrow?
Oh, tomorrow, yeah, we'll get to that in just a second. It's still at the gate, but let's see where it's going to go. Where are we
Anywhere
at?
near here?
Yeah, let's check. All righty, here we go. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that tab. So let's see. Las Vegas to Indy. I mean, Houston, New York, Nashville, Denver. Oh, it is going to be in Oakland tomorrow night.
Ooh, tomorrow night. Hey.
Yep.
Hey, maybe you can go. Maybe you can get spotted.
You know, it lands in Oakland at 9:35 p.m.
9:35, still early.
You know what you could do, Sal? Where are you going tomorrow?
SJC.
Oh, dude, and I can't go. I get it. I've got something to do with my mom. What you should do is go to the San Leandro Marina and just hang out until 9:30 tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah. We'll see.
Look at it. You'll see what else you see out there.
Yeah. We shall see, dude. We shall see.
What time are you going to San Jose tomorrow?
Hopefully 8 in the morning.
Okay, you're doing
or 9 the latest for sure.
Yeah, San Jose gets the most amount of traffic in the mornings and in the late evenings these days. All right, Sal, do you have anything you want us to track before we call it a night?
Not me. I have a new submission from Kevin R. and from Albanor, if you're willing.
Okay, we'll do those two, and then that's it.
And then that's it. All right.
Yep. All right.
Let's go to Albanor's. Albanor's is
Russian.
Juliet Alpha 383 Alpha.
Wow, and it's not anything Russian this time.
What?
It's Japanese.
Oh boy.
So this is the ANA A380 orange turtle livery. And let's see, where is it right now? You know what? It's on the ground in Tokyo. And it looks like it hasn't flown today. Yeah, last flight was yesterday, from Honolulu to Tokyo. It's the ANA, they just fly their A380s back and forth between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's on the ground in Tokyo. It hasn't flown today.
In Tokyo.
Yep.
All right. And
Tokyo.
Kevin R is...
Oh, wait, I want to show let's see here. What's this MJ says right here about the San Leandro Marina?
The marina has changed.
A few months when he worked. Oh, I didn't know you worked at Oakland. Wow. I didn't realize you worked there for a while. That's cool. Wow. I had no idea. All right. Last one.
It is Whiskey November 2570.
Kevin R. loves Southwest.
What? That's a plane. That's what we just tracked.
Yeah. Kevin pendejo, man. All right.
Maybe he was putting that plane. I don't know.
All right. You know what? Jose Gutierrez got here late. We'll track his for him.
All right.
Yeah, since he got here late. So I see that one. EY1. We got you covered, Jose.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Oh, Etihad.
Etihad. There it is right there. Abu Dhabi to New York. Which that flight was it Monday or Tuesday was our first flight back to JFK. Yeah, it just left Abu Dhabi 2 hours ago. And 11 hours and 21 minutes, it'll be back in New York at JFK. Where is it right now? It is... Ooh, ouch. That's a rough area right now to be flying over. Iran and Iraq. Yep. Well, wish them safe flight. And yeah, thank you for that one. Yeah, Lady Cat TWA Hotel Special. Yep. That's about it. All right, everybody. We're going to. Okay. How do I stop? There we go. Oh, there we go. Now I'm back with you, Sal. All righty. Well, it's a good show tonight. I had fun, even though we didn't have any news, but had a great time looking at Andy Payne's airport, Lady Cat's collection of model airplanes. Hey, and if you guys have any model airplanes, my email is down in the description. If you want to send me pictures, we'll show your collection on a future show. And it's been a great segment that we've been doing, and got to give credit to Greg Hybers for suggesting that as a segment for the show. And of course, I want to thank Captain Paul for being with us tonight and just doing the Q&A, and appreciate everybody's questions. We got to hear a lot of great experiences. And Sal, you okay?
Yep, I accidentally moved my camera.
That's all right. But anyways, yeah, it was great having Captain Paul with us tonight and doing the flight tracking. And Lady Cat, thank you so much for sending the pictures of your model plane collection, and thank you for keeping the chat flowing with everybody. And thank you, Sal, for being with us tonight. And Michael, I think you said you were driving and that you were listening. I think I saw that. So we missed having you tonight, but hope you enjoyed having a good time on your trip. And yeah, so anyways, not sure, like I said, this mic stand moves a little bit. Not sure when our next show will be, but just keep looking out for the community page on my YouTube channel right here. And I'll be posting dates when we can do some shows in the future. So yeah, but thank you everybody so much for being here. And once again, if you wouldn't mind liking the stream and subscribing to the channel, I greatly appreciate it. And we're gonna be out of here. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.